Well, the biggest memory that I have that is a trigger for me is Christmas time. The song Feliz Navidad was a song that resonates in my brain when that time frame we were in the shelter. And I remember, my brother being brought in, again, he was just a newborn. And they bring him in, they sit him next to me, and there's this, Christmas activities that are going on inside the shelter. And, it took a long time to get past really being able to enjoy Christmas because of that memory, and then once we got to Floresville, um, it was a transition. I miss my mother dearly. Wanted nothing more than to be with my mom. You know, we grew up very poor. We didn't have to be, but because there was drug addicts in our house that would pillage through the canned goods and sell them, and take all the stuff that we had of any value to go sell it so they could get their fix. So it created a lot of uncertainty. It created a lot of dissent with my grandfather. It created a lot of anger for him, and unfortunately, I bore the blunt of a lot of that anger. Was mentally abused, physically abused, and the temperament of him and my grandfather. And his crushing words. Uh, I didn't really, I guess, have a lot of hope per se. Um, so it was tough. It was a tough environment. It was a tough situation. The town was very, very small, or is still very, very small, and because of the reputation of my family, we weren't going to be able to play with the most affluent children in the town. And uh again, you're labeled not only in the community when you're riding your bike around, or you're out somewhere, but you're also labeled in the school. So we were set up for failure.
Someone told you that you would never become anyone. It was probably hard to hear as a child. Did you reconnect with your father after he got back from prison?
The way it works when you're in prison, and you're getting ready to be released, you got to provide a residence of where you're going to go. So your probation officer has the ability to account for your actions and do their check-ins, and that for my father as well as my uncles was my grandparents' house, and that's where they all came back to. But going back to what you said about being belittled and barraged, it was my grandfather that used to always tell us, we weren't worth anything and we were never going to be anything. And those were the words that resonated throughout my life. And later on, and as an adult even. But meeting my father for the first time, he used to send me prison letters quite regularly. And within those prison letters were handkerchiefs, handkerchiefs drawn out that, I took a lot of pride in, and that I held as my own, and I knew it was something that wouldn't be taken from me. So I used to put them on my wall as a badge of honor, and you know, check the mail all the time to see if my father had written me a letter. So the first time I got to meet him, I was in junior high, and he was released from prison. And first place he came was to my grandparents' house, and uh, my grandmother would allow me to go and spend the weekends with him, or days with him, as he started venturing out to San Antonio. It didn't take him long, and shortly thereafter he got back in the game, in the heroin game, and I was right there next to him. So it was at a very early influential age that I got to know how to balloon heroin, uh how to cut it up, how to, hide it in my mouth as we went around the city streets of San Antonio selling it into the projects. And, it was during that time that he would say, "Hey, if we ever get stopped, I need you to swallow this, can't go back to jail." So I took a lot of pride in making my dad, a proud father.
Did your father get arrested again for that? And what happened to you after?